misses Mama. Oh, I know that feeling. I woke up missing my Mama today. Llama, llama, warm in bed, wakey, wakey, sleepyhead. Llama, school begins today. Time to learn and time to play. Make the bed and find some clothes. Brush the teeth and blow the nose. Eat some breakfast, clean the plate. Whoops, oh my, we're running late. Drive to school and park the car. Tell the teacher who you are. Do you guys tell your teacher your names? If I say 1, 2, 3, can you all say your name at once? 1, 2, 3. Jen. Meet new faces, hear new names, see new places, watch new games. Hang the coat and say goodbye. Llama, llama, feeling shy. Do you ever feel shy? You do? You know what? Sometimes I feel shy when there's so many extra people in my classroom. I might feel a little bit shy.
We're with you.
You don't usually have this many people here.
Llama llama goes away. Llama llama has to stay. Oh, that first day when your mom, strange new teacher, strange new toys, lots of kids and lots of noise. What would Llama like to do? Llama llama feels so new. Build a castle out of blocks, make a rocket from a box. Llama llama shakes his head. Llama llama walks away instead. Here's a little chug-a-chew with a captain and a crew. Would the llama like a ride? Llama llama tries to hide. Reading stories on the rug, kids are cuddled, sitting snug. Would the llama like to look? Llama llama hates that book. Llama llama's so grumpy. Time for lunch, now find a seat. Llama doesn't want to eat. Llama makes a little moan. Llama llama feels alone. Llama misses Mama so. Why did Mama llama go? It's too much for little llama. Llama llama misses Mama. Don't be sad, new little llama. It's okay to miss your Mama. But don't forget, when day is through, she will come right back for you. Llama llama, please don't fuss. Have some fun and play with us. Put on coats and run outside. See the playhouse, try the slide. Tag and jump rope, hide and seek. Close your eyes and do not peek. Now it's time to draw and write. Great big crayons, colors bright. Take some paper, find the stack. Mama llama, you came back! Ha ha! It's the best thing about mamas. Teacher gets a goodbye hug. Wave to friends on reading rug. Climb the playhouse with the slide. See if Mama fits inside. Can your Mama go up in the magic tree house? No. She too big? Do you think Governor Scott could fit in the tree house? No. No. Don't even try it.
I don't think they want me there.
Lots to show and lots to say. Back again another day. Llama finds out something new. He loves Mama and school too. All right.
It was kind of like a what? It was a ride.
Yeah.
You're right.
I bet we're going to have another reader.
This is when we put the white flag out?
No way, you gotta go now.
Yeah, hard to follow.
Very much so.
Good luck.
Thank you. Do you want me to read next?
Yeah. Oh, this is one of our favorites.
Oh, we love this.
Oh, we love snowy days, don't we? Did we just have one? You like snow?
Today's snowy too.
It was a snowy day.
I have one.
A snowy day? We had a lot of snowy days this year, didn't we?
You too. You have
Can I have ice cream? I have a snowy.
That's the next version. A sleety day. Then we have a muddy day, right? Okay, are we ready?
You ready to listen?
All right.
Sam.
One winter morning, Peter woke up and looked out the window. Snow had fallen during the night. It covered everything as far as he could see. After breakfast, he put on his snowsuit, and I ran outside. The snow was piled up very high along the street to make a path for walking. Crunch, crunch, crunch. His feet sank into the snow. He walked with his toes pointing out, like this, just like that. He walked with his toes pointing in, like that. Then, he dragged his feet slowly to make tracks like that. Do you do that? No.
Never.
Then he found something sticking out of the snow that made a new track. You know what that was? It was a stick. A stick that was just right for smacking a snow-covered tree. And what happens when that happens? When you do that?
Snow falls on me.
You get wet. Down fell the snow, plop, on top of Peter's head. He thought it would be fun, so much fun, to join the big boys in their snowball fight, but he knew he wasn't old enough. Not yet. Are you old enough for a snowball fight?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Pretty good.
I'm old enough.
You are? You're old enough?
I'm not.
You're not? Okay. You don't have to. We won't do that
Because
today.
you're fun and so too.
So he made a smiling snowman. That's better. And he made angels. He pretended he was a mountain climber. He climbed up a great big tall heaping mountain of snow and slid all the way down. You like to slide?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fun. He picked up
Especially on snow slides.
on a snow slide, even more fun.
How about
He picked up a handful of snow, and another, and still another. He packed it round and firm, and put the snowball in his pocket for tomorrow. Then, he went into his warm house. What do you think happened then?
it melted?
I bet it did. He told his mother all about his adventures. Well, he took off his wet socks. And he thought and thought and thought about them. Before he got into bed, he looked in his pocket. His pocket was empty. The snowball wasn't there.
It melted.
He felt very sad.
It melted.
It did, didn't it? While he slept, he dreamed that the sun had melted all the snow away. We dream that a lot here, especially this time of year. And when he woke up, his dream was gone. The snow was still everywhere. New snow was falling, just like today. After breakfast, he called to his friend from across the hall, and they went out together into the deep, deep snow. And that's it.
All right. You held your own. You held your own. You held your own. Thank you very much. Preschoolers, should we say thank you?
Thank you.
Great tolerance for listening. You guys have really built this up.
We read a lot of Magic Tree Houses. We're on number 9.
Wow, that's a lot for
So we do a lot of
preschoolers.
chapters.
A lot of
Wow,
books.
with Jack and Annie, you guys know about Jack and Annie? Has
That's
Merlin
a
come
magic
in?
tree house.
Of course it is. Do you go up there and say, I want to go there? And
Yeah.
the wind starts to
Yeah.
blow
Yeah.
and it starts to whirl around. And then boom, you're with the dinosaurs or you're at the Eiffel Tower. Or
And we go or rescue bot.
Oh yeah, we
Yes.
get rescue bots, Cybertron a lot.
Oh, sure.
I
So you really know how to listen. That is something kids learn in preschool.
We're pirates.
That's
We're
so
getting
great.
it.
Yeah.
Or pirates.
Oh, is there
Yeah,
another book?
pirates.
Okay, we have another book, guys. This is a good one.
We tried to get them to do that in the State House.
I was just thinking, I can tell you who hasn't been to preschool.
Start starts with good early education, for sure.
Who knows this book? I love this book. Will you help me read it? Oh, you're already helping. I love this one. A told B and B told C, I'll meet you at the top of the coconut tree. We said D to E, F, G. I'll beat you to the top of the coconut tree. Chicka, chicka, boom, boom. Will there be enough room? You're right, I think. Here comes H up the coconut tree. And then I and J and tag along K. All up their way up the coconut tree. The light blue one's you? Are you K? All right. Gee, what comes after I, J, and K? What comes after? Oh, well, maybe. Let's find out. Chick, chicka, boom, boom. Will there be enough room? Look who's coming. L-M-N-O.
The coconut.
And Q-R-S and
T-U-V.
All right. And still more. W, X, Y, Z. The whole alphabet up the...
Coconut tree.
Oh no! Chicka, chicka, boom, boom!
What happened?
Skit, scat, scoodle, doo, flip, flop, flee. Everybody's running to the coconut tree. Mamas and papas and uncles and aunts hug their little dears and dust their pants. Help us up, cried A, B, C. Next from the pile up, skinned knee D, stubbed toe E, patched up F, then comes G, all out of breath. Whew. Oh. H is tangled up with an I, J and K are about to cry. L is knotted like a tie. Right? Isn't that crazy? M is looped and N is stooped. O is twisted, alley-oop. Skit, scat, scoodle-doo, flip-flop, flee. Look who's coming, it's Black-Eyed B.
That's me. They do it nice Lucy.
Yes. There you are. Q-R-S and loose to T.
B is me.
T is you.
R is me.
V. I'm M.
C is me. Ow.
Oh.
C is for violence.
Oh, you're, oh, that's
V is
right.
for violet.
All right. Then U, V, W, wiggle, jiggle, free. Last to come, X, Y, Z. Then the sun goes down on the
Coconut tree.
right. But chicka, chicka, boom, boom. Look, there's a A is out of bed. And this is what he said. Dare, double dare, you can't catch me. I'll beat you to the top of the coconut tree. Chicka, chicka, boom, boom. All right, good job, everybody.
It's a good one.
I told you it's a good one. It's a good one. It's a fan favorite.
Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning, kids. Can you say hi?
Say hello, guys.
Hi. It's great to be here. Before I get into my remarks, I want to thank the many people who helped put this event together. First, thanks to Jackie and Beth, their staff, and the kids here at Robin's Nest. It's great to see your important work up close. I also want to thank Let's Grow Kids for helping organize this event and for their leadership in promoting high-quality early care and learning in Vermont. The candidate forum you hosted in 2016 before I became governor highlighted the wide-ranging benefits of investing in childcare. And it made a real impact on me, and I've set my priorities as a result over the last 3 years. Additionally, I want to thank Mark Schreiber and the Save the Children Action Network for all they do, working in a nonpartisan fashion to help states, governors, and other elected officials advance initiatives that benefit kids. In this spirit of collaboration, I also want to thank House Speaker Mitzi Johnson and Senate Pro Tem Tim Ashe for joining us this morning. I want to assure you both I'll try to be brief because I know you have a lot going on in the State House today. So while we're here in Burlington, I'd also be remiss not to acknowledge Mayor Weinberger, who has done some good things locally with an early learning initiative. This program leverages city funds to increase the availability and affordability of quality child care for infants and toddlers in low-income families. And finally, I want to welcome Jennifer Garner to Vermont. We're pleased to have you here and to show you what we think we're doing well when it comes to early care and learning, as well as what we're doing to make it even better. We know from research and the work of many here today, the brain develops immensely fast in a child's earliest years. We used to think kids started learning in kindergarten, but we now know the brain is 90% developed by age 5, and an infant's brain forms more than 1 million new connections every single second. These facts alone provide enough incentive to invest in our kids, because improving their experiences early in life will set them up with the skills they need to withstand adversity as they grow up. But the benefits don't stop there. Many in this room have heard me talk about Vermont's demographics. We're one of the oldest, fastest aging states in the country, and the number of people in our workforce has declined by about 15,000 since its peak in 2009. These trends have a ripple effect throughout the state and have significant consequences on our economy, affordability, and the fiscal foundation of our budget, which is crucial to protecting the most vulnerable. That's why my top priority is addressing this challenge, and it's my belief it should be the top priority of every elected official, regardless of party. I also believe our child care system, which I see as part of our cradle-to-career educational system, is an essential piece of the solution. As we work to attract working families to Vermont, our commitment to education could be a draw for young families and quite possibly the best economic development tool we have in our toolbox. For example, a young couple living in Boston thinking about having children might find the cost of child care is equal to or above their housing costs. And that's if they can even find an opening. In fact, one of my senior staff members, Ethan, who's here today, has a sibling in this very situation. And affordability of child care in places like DC and Boston was a factor in bringing another staff member back to Vermont as well. Right, Rebecca? We know we still have more work to do to make child care more affordable. But if we can lead regionally and nationally in affordable and accessible child care that is high quality and feeds into our already strong K-12 system, we will be ahead of the curve in attracting families to Vermont. This approach also lines up with the family dynamics most of Vermont and nationally now experience, where both parents are working to advance their careers. We only need to look at our neighbors across the border to the north to see how a robust child care system can support families, which in turn supports the economy. Now, while it's not always my first instinct to model policy after Canada, although some feel we're part of Canada, it's useful to look at the common thread of investment in child care and a strong economy. Among Canada's 10 provinces, Quebec has the lowest child care costs as a percentage of income. It also has a long tradition of public support for child care compared to other provinces, going back to the 1970s. What we've seen is that these initiatives have also helped to grow the workforce in Quebec. Between 1998 and 2014, when Quebec overhauled the child care financing system, workforce participation among mothers increased by 13%, compared to just 4% in other provinces. So the data shows positive return on investment in one of the most challenging areas, workforce expansion. For these reasons, investing in early care and learning is a rare opportunity to achieve all 3 goals I set on my first day in office: to grow the economy, make Vermont more affordable, and protect the most vulnerable. So with that, I'd now like to turn the floor over to Jennifer Garner and welcome her again to Vermont. Thank you very much for coming.
I mean, can we talk about the kids here at preschool at Robin's Nest? You guys are incredible. Do you know that? How big are the brains in your heads? It's crazy, the brains. It's crazy, your brains. I am so happy to be here. Thank you, Governor Scott, and thank you. Don't tell me. Let's see. No, not Senator Ashe, and no, it's like chairwoman, except it's not. Speaker. Hello. Speaker Johnson, sorry. I was thinking Mitzi, and that works. You know, okay. I am so happy to be in Burlington today. I can't believe I made it. I'm thrilled to be here. I've seen kids all over this country in my work with Save the Children for the last decade who are going into kindergarten and have never held a book, because kids growing up in poor America, there's one book for every 13 children. They get to kindergarten, they don't know how to hold a book, they don't know how to sit in a circle and listen, and you can imagine that in this... See? Your brother's going to kindergarten, and I bet that he can sit in a circle, and I bet he can listen, and I bet he doesn't even know that these are fundamental to learning to read and thrive in school. If you are growing up poor in America, then by the time you are 4 years old, you are 18 months behind. This is because you don't have access to early childhood education like what's happening here at Robin's Nest. What's happening here is magical. It says it all over the room. There are butterflies the kids made, and somebody's mom even helped, right, Shania? There's a magic tree house. These kids here at 4 years old have listened to 9 chapter books aloud, and it's only February. That is unheard of. That does not happen if you don't have kids at a learning center. It's amazing to see this bipartisan support here in Vermont to make places like Robin's Nest more accessible to moms who couldn't otherwise afford it. So the kids benefit because these kids are gonna go to kindergarten and hit the ground running. They are ready to go. But if you've never been in this environment, then you can see your brain hasn't grown the way that it has a shot to grow, and if it doesn't, the chance is gone. It's not like you get an opportunity at 46 like I am, where suddenly you have another brain growth spurt. Although I'm getting better at crosswords. So your opportunity is birth to 5, 90% of your brain growth, and you have got to have kids in an environment to learn at that time, and that's what's happening here. And thanks to Governor Scott and to Speaker Johnson and to Senator Ashe, that is what's going to happen here in Vermont. So kids don't vote. They rely on leaders like these, and thanks to Let's Grow Kids and even to SCAN, we are starting to make things happen. Vermont's going to be a real leader in this area, and I'm thrilled to be here to witness it. Thank you so much.
And I'd like to introduce the Speaker of the House, Mitzi Johnson, to say a few words as well.
I want to thank Save the Children, thank Jennifer Gardner, thank the Governor for pulling all of this together and to highlight how important this is. The Governor mentioned both brain development and economic development, and the first infant that I really got to know well was my niece, who's now 9, and she was about this big when I was hanging out with her, and because we had not a lot to do, I remember this one moment where I sat there just making funny motions with my hand and watching her eyes, follow them. And I started saying, open, close, open, close. And she stared for a long time, and then she stared at her own hand and started mimicking the motion. And you could just see the neurons firing. You could see her making these connections. When she started learning sign language before she was verbal, getting to watch her express herself was amazing in a kid that couldn't articulate a word, but could ask for a light to be on, could ask for something to eat, could say she was all done. And just to watch how much was going on in her brain long before she could even talk about it. Having access to really high quality preschool, high quality early childhood helps that development. I had a chance to talk with a kindergarten teacher yesterday who talks about needing to clear out their classroom on a weekly basis because of a kid that has grown up in such a chaotic environment that his outbursts create not just disruption but danger for the other kids in the classroom. And we spend time talking about the danger coming from outside the school, and we don't spend enough time talking about the danger inside the school. And helping more and more Vermonters be able to bring their children to centers like Robin's Nest helps with that brain development, teaches those basic skills, and helps those kids get ready to be in an environment where they're going to have a much more structured day and learn the skills that are going to build their healthy adulthood. It also helps their parents, like my sister, that couldn't go back to work, couldn't run the business she does unless she knew her kids were safe, they were taken care of, and they were in an environment close to what she would like to provide to them if she weren't working. So thank you, Robin's Nest, for all you do for Vermont's kids and for all the child care centers around the state that are really helping to grow a stronger, healthier Vermont.
Speaker Johnson, I'd now like to introduce the President of the Senate, Senator Ashe, who I had the pleasure of serving with when I was in the Senate.
Well, being a legislator can be a humbling experience. And when I walked in today, one of the kids said, "Mom, he has sleepyhead." So everywhere I go, it's a humbling experience. And I'll just say a quick word, picking up where the speaker left off, which is that Jennifer and the governor both spoke about the importance of facilities like Robin's Nest and the Janet Munt Family Room across the way in terms of brain development and getting kids ready to be in school and learn. But the impact it has on the families who send their kids here can't be understated. I served in on the city council in Burlington representing this neighborhood. This is a neighborhood that has some very serious economic challenges, and it has been the centers like this that have allowed the parents of kids to go off and get back into the workforce, continue their own education while their own kids get such great services. So all across the state, it is not just about preparing the next generation so that they can succeed, but it's also a huge economic development and workforce program by extension because the parents are freed up knowing their kids are in a safe and enriched environment. So I want to thank Jennifer in particular and Mark for using all their hard work to take their megaphone and shine a light on this really critical cause. And I'm so grateful that they came here today and that we had some customary Vermont warmth to greet you. So thank you all.
And with that, we'd be happy to answer some of the questions maybe on topic for a bit.
Ms. Garner, you've been with Save the Children for at least a decade now and on their board of trustees for a while. What drew you to doing this sort of work and working with children and getting the word out about the need for resources like this?
Well, to be brief, once I found myself, with a megaphone, I guess, to carry that, I was approached by a lot of organizations, and they wanted to help kids or help people, all different causes, and they're all worthy, they're all amazing, but none of them really spoke to me. And through that process, I started being really intentional about what I did want to work on, and that was having grown up with a mom who had grown up extremely poor in rural Oklahoma, and then she got an education. She's the only one in her family to have gone to college. My sisters and I grew up with our parents in West Virginia. And while we were middle class, we were surrounded by generational rural poverty. And I suddenly thought, who's helping those kids? Who's helping kids in West Virginia, like the kids I grew up with, or kids like my mom? And I wouldn't have the life I had if somebody hadn't given her a leg up. And so I did my research, and it led me, of all people, to Mark Shriver and Save the Children. And I've been harassing him for the past decade.
So where are things falling through the cracks, and what do you find really needs work, and where can Vermont progress along those lines?
Well, it's very hard to get momentum going, and I find that it took me years before I really understood what early childhood education was, what it meant, why it's necessary. I didn't understand what kindergarten readiness was. It means something different in, Shuji LA than it means in rural America. To me, kids go into kindergarten reading, like a lot of these kids are already doing, I can see, and they go into kindergarten knowing their ABCs. We're talking about kids in rural America. So many of them don't know that ABCs exist. It's not like they don't know how to read a book. They don't know how to hold a book. They don't have, so we have got to get a baseline. We've got to build and grow some momentum. And the first thing I said to Governor Scott when I met him this morning was, how did you come up with this? 10 years ago, no governor was thinking of this. Vermont is a real leader. That's why I'm here. I'm here to celebrate. I'm here to celebrate something happening that's right, which is that moms going back to work, because Lord knows we need it, and kids being at a high quality early childhood development center so they can hit the ground running when they start kindergarten.
There's been a bill introduced, I think it's H 194, a kind of preliminary price tag that I heard was $26 million, and that was just for child care subsidies.
No, we'd love for you to answer that.
I've got a two-part question. One is, do all three of you support it? And the second part is, where is that money going to come from?
I'll start off. I think what we have to do is focus on the goals, and I believe that we all share the same goals. We know the data is real. We know that the science is real. When we look at the brain development of a child from 0 to 5, we know we have to get to them earlier. From my perspective, I was talking to Jennifer earlier, from my perspective, it came from my construction background. And I was in the construction trades for 30 years. And I know that a good solid foundation is the good place to start. And without that solid foundation, you can have the most beautiful house on top of, or structure on top of the foundation, but if it isn't sound, then it crumbles eventually. So what we need to do is make sure that we give them the best start possible and have that foundation. So from a money standpoint, we will have the debates about where the money comes from, how to do it, how to make sure that we continue to make any attempts to solidify that foundation. But we'll work through the process. I mean, it's a tremendous amount of money. We can't do this overnight. But from my standpoint, trying to invest and all trying to educate ourselves as to the importance of this and why we need to do this is as important as everything else. And have it as nonpartisan as possible. And Mark Schreiber's done that through the last decade. It's not just me. I mean, I just came onto the scene, so to speak. There have been many leaders throughout the country who identified this as a need for us as a society. And I think that we're just building upon that and learning about that and educating ourselves. And so we'll get through the money piece, but it's always a debate.
I think the exciting part is that we're having a conversation about how we're, sorry. I think the exciting part is we're having a conversation about how are we going to make this happen, not if it should happen.
I mean, when you say that this should happen, what is this? Is it that bill? How, it doesn't really answer the question.
No, because to completely answer your question and to give the specific answer would totally undermine the rest of the legislative process, because it's not easy finding big chunks of money in a tight budget with a lot of competing needs. But things that we need to make progress on are increasing the rates that we pay so that we create more slots, so that that these centers that are critical small businesses that provide essential services in Vermont have a viable business model, because that's a big piece of this struggle. And the second piece is making sure that we are paying that more people have access to it, because right now the poverty threshold at which a family can access supports for childcare is relatively low. So I think the it is investing in quality care, increasing those investments so that the business model works, and making sure that eligibility levels are such that that an increasing number of people can access them. And there are some tough decisions to be made along the way, but I'm glad we're having a conversation about how we can make it work.
Questions for the governor. What is your administration doing to help new centers and new home programs open up? Right now, if you look at Chittenden County, the vacancy rate at a center is about 1%, or at least those are the 2017 numbers. And at homes, it was about a 4% vacancy. That's next to nothing.
Yeah.
How are we making it so that centers can open up, and homes, which also provide a important support system for families, are opening up centers that children can go to?
Well, again, we're highlighting the need at this point, and that's why we're here today. We have a proposal that we've moved forward with and introduced to try and open up more centers, trying to do whatever we can to fill the need. But this is a conversation, ongoing conversation that we need to have. So we're invested in this. We're making the investments, and we want to be part of the future with that. But specifically, Reva is here. She could probably answer if specifically about that if you'd like to.
Come on up. Yeah, so I'm thinking, you know, are we making the regulations such that homes can afford to open up a place for children to go? You know, can they pay their staff? I mean, when we require a bachelor's degree, that increases the level of pay that they have to do.
We actually don't require a bachelor's degree.
So for everybody,
but
or
we
just
do
some?
have regulations that protect the health, safety, and well-being of children, which is our job. But what we've done, the Department for Children and Families, you know, which is where Child Development Division sits, the Department of Commerce and the Department of Labor, along with our friends from Let's Grow Kids and Building Bright Futures, formed a coalition about a year ago around this concern about capacity. And we have 7 strategies that we're working on, starting with a demand study of what parents in Vermont are using and looking for, which we just finished. And that's now being managed by a committee at Building Bright Futures. We're actually beginning to see a slowing of the decrease in capacity, and we believe that we're sort of starting to turn the curve a little bit. We've seen gains in a few areas. So we're optimistic that these efforts, the investments and commitments that we've made across state government and out of state government is going to keep making that happen here. So it is something we're really concerned about and have been working on.
Maybe we'll take one more question.
Jen, as someone who has traveled the country and seen encouraging signs in other states, what have you going to tell the governor and the speaker, the Senate president, about encouraging things that might work here that you've seen elsewhere?
Well, it won't be long before I start bugging the governor about home visitation, because like you're saying, in really rural areas, families can't afford to get to a program. Families can't afford, so the model of going to them, you kind of have to go to them and help the mom become the caregiver become the teacher. So that'll be something, but first things first, childcare is the most important block. Oh my gosh, you guys are really amazing, you know that? You must be so proud. So first things first is what's in front of us right now, and I can tell you that the work that I see, Mark Shriver and I will go to DC today, and we're in DC. I mean, he's headquartered in DC, and I go a lot to to advocate on a federal level. But it's the states where you see it actually happening. It is the governors who are making this a choice and making this a priority, and that's where it's happening. So more and more, we're going state by state and just trying to support the governments who are working in a bipartisan effort, because it takes everyone to wrestle through and figure out how to find the funding and how to use it best for their state. Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. Appreciate everyone coming in today. Again, thank you very much.
Thank you.